Hi guys, and welcome to Data Unlocked. I hope you're enjoying the session so far. Welcome to another customer story about our Matillion use cases here at TUI. My name is Kai. I'm the head of global operations and analytics for TUI Hotels and Resorts, and I'm here together with my colleague Michael, who will also present later in that presentation. So just to give you some heads up, because we are talking to a broad audience here, what is TUI actually? TUI is the biggest tourism company in the world. We operate our own cruise ships, we operate our own hotels, our own retail stores, our own planes, and we are serving more than 20 million customers every year and bring them to more than 100 destinations worldwide. And we are still here, even after the pandemic. So, of course, TUI has been hit very hard by the pandemic, but we have used the time to prepare ourselves to come out of the crisis even stronger and bigger. And one of our main goals is to strengthen our hotel division with more and more hotels around the globe. And this is what we will be talking about today, because one of our own hotel brands, TUI Blue, is aiming to become the world's largest leisure hotel company in the world. So we are growing heavily. We are currently operating more than 100 hotels, and we were thinking about, okay, what will be the influence to our data and analytics strategy and our data and analytics platform, because every hotel that is being onboarded will bring new challenges in terms of different source systems, in terms of different time zones, different languages, different currencies. So during that ambitious project, we definitely see a lot of challenges for our analytics landscape. And we also see a higher need for real-time data. So we are evolving more and more away from a traditional data warehouse in TUI Hotels and Resorts, and evolve more into a real data platform, of course, serving traditional analytics needs for static or classical reporting, but also being more and more the data source for other operational systems. And that's what we will be talking about today. So where are we today before this high scaling of hotel will begin? It already began slightly, but we are still stuck to a lot of legacy systems and on-prem systems, because every hotel has its own booking system, which is installed most likely on-premise in the hotel facilities. So we need to connect those and hopefully we'll migrate them to the cloud sooner or later. We are operating and serving traditional high-level management stakeholder reports, and they are refreshed on a daily basis every morning. So traditional data run during the night and doing the refresh of our reports in the morning. And lots of them is still operated using batch processing. So a daily full export of our on-prem systems and then into our data warehouse. So this is where the story started basically, and when we were thinking about a different approach. So what we need to do is to think and design our real-time data pipelines, because there is a clear request and need to have instant insights in the data, not with a 24-hour delay with updated reports in the morning. So ideally, we would like to see every new reservation being made in our reports after a couple of seconds or maximum a couple of minutes. So we really need to invest and think about our tech stack and make use of the functionalities of Matillion and our other cloud providers that we have. And everything is already there. So that was a good start for us, and it does not require any additional investments. It just needs an investment in time and redefine a lot of business logic in our way we approach those challenges. And this is when I will hand over to Michael now, who is a colleague of mine, and he will guide you through the details of our use case. So hope you enjoy it, and thank you so far.
Thank you, Kai. My name is Michael. I'm a senior data engineer in Kai's team, and I will now guide you through the more technical part of our presentation. So when we started to think about designing and building real-time data pipelines, it was pretty clear for us that we had to consider new technologies. And first, we thought how a ingestion process could look like. So how can we connect the data stream from our source application, from our source system, with our existing data warehouse? And our goal was to have something that is easy to set up, easy to maintain, but on the other hand also rock stable. So as I wrote here, something like a set up and forget approach, which means we want to set this up once and then it should run 24/7 without nagging us with error messages and without losing any data in first place. Our data team is quite small. We don't have large crowds of platform or DevOps engineer that we could rely on. So we thought, let's stick with technologies that we already know, and let's see what AWS can offer us in terms of their services. And then we found AWS Kinesis, which is basically an endpoint for real-time data streams. And from that endpoint, there are various options to process the incoming data further. So for example, you could use AWS Lambda functions to do a real-time processing with the arriving data, or as we do it in our use cases, you can store the incoming data as files in Amazon S3. So Kinesis basically handles all the protocol overhead, let's call it that way. So the acknowledgement of message reception and the message buffering and so on. And for us, we see the messages file-based in our S3 bucket in the end, which is quite nice because that's the first place where we already have a file-based backup of all incoming data, which is under our control. So that data is available in our AWS account. And even if something goes wrong in the upcoming steps, so for example, if the message format has changed and the processes transforming the data will fail, we still have that raw data in our backup in S3. But at that point, we still don't have that data available in our data warehouse. So in the end, those are just files lying around somewhere. So we use Snowflake Snowpipe to ingest this raw data to our Snowflake data warehouse. And Snowpipe is a very nice technology which is triggered by S3 file events. So whenever a new file arrives in the S3 bucket, which is monitored or the file is changed and so on, then the process is automatically started to load that raw data into a Snowflake table. Snowflake has the variant data type for these use cases, which means the semi-structured input format, which is JSON in our case, is just written one-to-one to the database, and you still have the raw data where you can start your transformations from. Next, we have the data transformation processes with Matillion ETL. And here we also had to rethink our strategy. As Kai said, we are coming from a batch-based world, so we have huge batch processes running in the morning or overnight, and their runtime does not really matter. So if a process takes 1 hour, that's okay. But with our new setup, with streaming data coming in all day and new messages arriving again and again, there it's not feasible to have a process running 1 hour or even just a few minutes. So we looked for something that's called micro batching, which just means you have smaller batches of data which you process at once. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. So process the newly ingested data only. So we don't care processing data again that hasn't changed. So we just have to look what is new, what has changed, what was deleted. And that's exactly where Snowflake streams come into play. Here you have the option to create a stream on a Snowflake table, and then you have access to all the changes in that table, so the deltas basically. And the great thing is that Matillion ETL integrates very nicely with these Snowflake streams. So for your transformation processes, it's not relevant if you have a real Snowflake table or if you have a Snowflake stream to process only the deltas. And the integration is really seamless and very nice. And we have also included all the stream management tasks in Matillion. So if we have to create or recreate or reset the streams, then we can do this in Matillion ETL as well. Next, Matillion is very strong in handling the semi-structured data, for example, the JSON that we have as our input. And that's the extract nested data component in Matillion, which I will talk about later on. And finally, we wanted to apply the business logic to our data with our trusted Matillion ETL processes. So we already have these processes for our other use cases, which contain harmonization of data, for example, or data enrichment. Just a quick example, we want to join the planned room budget data for a hotel with the actual occupancy data to see how the budget target is met in our hotels. And this is something that we do with the transformation process in Matillion ETL. And last but not least, for the reporting and dashboarding end of things, we wanted to give our business user a familiar but also improved end user experience, which means they want to see their familiar reports in Tableau, so the look and feel they are used to. They don't want to use another tool for this real-time or streaming data. They want to continue with the stuff they have. And on the other hand, of course, they want to see the new data when it's available for them. So they can just refresh or reload their reports on demand. So whenever they are ready, they can reload things. And then they want to see the data that is the most up to date in that point in time. So here we see the full architecture in one picture. On the very left, you see the cloud-based reservation system, which is our data source. And here, this can run on AWS technology or on Microsoft or Google Cloud technology, or even be a self-hosted solution. We don't care about this as long as this application supports streaming to our Kinesis endpoint, which is the case for our system. And then we see the both services we use in our AWS account, Kinesis and the S3 buckets. And from there, we have Snowpipe ingesting all that raw file-based data to our Snowflake data warehouse. And our Snowflake data warehouse is built with a 3-layer architecture. On the very left, we have the staging area, which basically holds all the raw data. Then we have the core data warehouse, which includes our full data model with harmonized input data, matched IDs, and so on. And finally, we have the data mart layer or the presentation area where we prepare the data for our reporting and dashboarding tool, which is Tableau. And as you can see, within our Snowflake data warehouse, Matillion is our tool of choice to transform the data, to go from raw data to our well-modeled and well-designed core data warehouse, and then to prepare the data for all the target visualization products. So let's look at 2 more things in more detail. how do we leverage the T in Matillion ETL. So the transformation part is in focus for this slide here. And on the left side, you can see the extract nested data component, which I have mentioned before. So this is very, very useful if you have to work with semi-structured data like JSON data, for example. And of course, you can also do this in Snowflake. So I have done this before, but I think that's a so brain damaging task with all these lateral joins, and you have to know about the extract attribute names and the data types and so on. And it is so much more convenient to work with this nice graphical user interface in Matillion, which basically automatically recognizes the structure of the JSON file and presents it to you in that way, what we can see here. And you can just go and check all the attributes that you want to keep and uncheck all the attributes that you want to get rid of. And then you end up with a nice relational representation, and you can continue to work with that in your data warehouse. So inside our Snowflake data warehouse, in our core layer, everything is in a relational format, everything is in third normal form. So that's very helpful to have this first step here to transform the data and unpack it from its semi-structured presentation. On the right side, we see a small snippet from a typical Matillion ETL transformation job, which we have in our system. And on the first icon in that job, you can see the stream input component, which just seamlessly integrates to that job as if you would read from a normal table. So there's no difference in reading from a Snowflake table or reading from a Snowflake stream in Matillion, which makes it really easy and convenient to use this method to access your Delta data. And then following to the further right, we have a large variety of transformation components that are available in the system. So for example, we have this calculator component, which is used for data cleaning in first place. So basically everything that's available in standard SQL can be applied there. Then we have more complex components like the join component, which is pictured here with the green icon. And there we can easily do joins between tables, perform lookups for getting master data, for example, and so on. So this is all built into the tool, and there's a graphical approach to everything. No code is required, except if you want to write the code. So that's possible too, but it's not required. And then there's much more, which is not pictured in this slide. For example, you have aggregation components or window functions which are available. So all that is very, very convenient to use inside these transformation jobs. And for the output, we have several options as well. So for most of our applications, we use our predefined data model tables, which are designed in an external modeling tool. And then the data is loaded to these tables with Matillion. But we also have some use cases where we don't require that persistent data model, where we just want to create quick ad hoc analysis. And there we also have the options to create tables on the fly. So basically everything that's processed in the job will be written to an output table and is available in your Snowflake data warehouse afterwards. And with that, I am already at the end of my presentation. So I hope you enjoyed our way to real-time data pipelines and how we use Matillion to achieve our goals. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out. We are looking forward to your comments and questions. Thank you.